Hello and welcome to the Daily News at 7, reporting to you live from Doha. Today we talk about the most important highlights of the week. Coming first, we talk about sports, where in the Spanish with new reports coming in with us live today, we have finally caught up with the famous writer of the poem, The Glory of the Guns, Mr. Duncan. This viral poem that is breaking the minds of over 79 million people worldwide, with its deep emotion and its deep personal feel in writing. More with you, Charlie, reporting to us live with the man himself, Mr. Duncan. With me today, live, is the man himself, Mr. Duncan. Hello and welcome, Mr. Duncan. Today, we want to talk about your famous poem, The Glory of the Guns. When people look at your poem from a first impression, we see it as a summary of what you went through and the summary of the war and the enemies you faced from the other side, the other country perhaps, and the obstacles you faced with them, with some deep writing that really describes the actions that occurred. Do you agree with this, Mr. Duncan? Well, Charlie, I have to disagree with that because the enemy, by the enemy himself, is not an actual person, it's not a country, it's actually myself, my thinking, and it's basically the fear and the hunger at the same time, so my conscious of what's around me during that period of time. So if you look at the second part, I say that I'm waiting until the sunrise, so that shows that I'm scared, that I was scared, and I said the enemy is waiting until the sunrise, and that explains that the enemy was afraid of the night, which was my conscious, but at the same time the enemy was hungry for the sound of the bullet, so hungry for war, and the enemy was my mind that I couldn't take over. It was just kind of like a monster, you know. And so why would you make the structure of your poem in this way, in this type of language? Why would you go back to personification, perhaps? Charlie, well, personification is one of the strongest ways of poetry, as you know. So that's basically one of the main reasons I used it. Another reason is that people can relate back to it when it's personified, the poem, because they can relate to it and they can look at it from several ways. So they can look at it from your perspective, the enemy being an actual human. They can look at it as being the mind, as being the environment. So they can look at the enemy from many ways when you use personification in a poem. Is there any particular reason why you used some very descriptive words like awesome and the way you described the bullet in detail? Because some people, that's one of the many wonders of your poem actually, that some people inquire about. Well, Charlie, I used those words because I feel like when you use these types of words, you really set a mood, you set a tone, so it's more like, for me it was more aggressive, it shows more of the action, the hype in the poem. So if I didn't have things like shattered through and words that are so tough like that, it wouldn't be as descriptive. People couldn't close their eyes and really imagine what was going on through my shoes. So I use these words to make someone feel as I felt as much as possible, Charlie. Well, Mr. Duncan, it's been a pleasure with you, and we are very grateful and thankful for you to attend this interview. It's been Charlie with you, and see you next time at 7.
When the battle cry is spoken and the voice of war is heard, the soldiers of the Allies to the battlefield do move. The enemy is silent as if waiting for the sun. Then they hear that awesome sound, the booming of the gun. They shudder in their trenches with the gnawing fear of knowing the battery of 161 is here. Of the shells come whistling all around, knocking and breaking things down, creating havoc among the lines and all that it surrounds. The enemy has broken and torn entire dismay. Those so inclined get down to their knees and pray. The ally is victorious. The enemy is on the run. Once again they have been beaten by the glory.